everyone, this is Dr. Varun Voraganti, Department of Aeronautical Engineering. Welcome to Aerospace Structure Analysis. Now today's topic is closed section beams under the restraint warping. Let us go ahead. Okay, till now what we have done is that we have found the magnitude of stress, strain and all these things by using an elementary formulas. These elementary formulas are M by I equal to E by R is equal to sigma by Y. And from this what we get is sigma is equal to M by I into Y. Here sigma is a direct stress and Y is the length which we are taking from the neutral axis. And M is the bending moment and I is the moment of inertia. And similarly, this is valid for bending in such a case. This is the bending moment formula. And similarly, if there is structure like this, and if we apply an axial load of magnitude P and area A, the direct stress sigma can be directly written as the P by A. Okay, well, now while deriving these formulas, what we have done is that we have assumed that the medium is continuous. There is no restriction for the degree of freedom. Now, in this section, what we are going to do is that we are going to introduce a restrained degree of freedom. That is, we are constraining 1 degree of freedom and we are looking about how the stress and strains are varying within the closed section beam and as well as open section beams. Okay, next going to the next slide. Okay, now let us look into the general aspects which we have made for the closed section beams under the restraint warping. Now the structural constraints, stresses in either closed or open section beams results from restriction on the degree of freedom of any section of the beam to assume its normal displacement shape under loading. Okay, what we are doing is that, for example, if you look into a cantilever beam like this, when you are restraining 1 degree of freedom, either by built-in edge or constraining one by restraining a degree of freedom, a stress system is developed within this. The stress system predicted by elementary bending theory relies on the basic assumption that the plane section remains plane after bending. And you are well aware that from the basic bending theory, what we know is that the plane section remains plane even after the application of the load. That is, there is no deformation which is producing on the bodies. That is a rigid body motion. The phenomena of load distribution resulting from the shear is known as the shear lag. This is one of the most important thing, shear lag. You can Google it for more detailed information of this shear lag, and meanwhile I'll be explaining it later on. And the phenomena of load distribution. When you apply a load on any structural element, a load is distributed within an element, and that redistribution leads to a shear known as shear lag. Okay, now let us look into the shear stress distribution at built-in end of a closed section beam. Now, when you look into the figure, it is a closed geometry. And what you are observing is that these are the X and Y are the orthogonal coordinate axis. The beam is as follows. The Z section is in this direction and we are looking into this direction. That is what we have represented here. And let us look into this geometry. What actually? This is the closed section geometry, where one end of the geometry meets the other end, and this is X, Y is the orthogonal coordinates. And moreover, let us take origin at point O, and now Q is the shear flow distribution which is existing within an element. And when you look into this system, Sx and Sy are the shear forces which are acting at a distance of neta naught from the x-axis and zeta naught from the y axis, and s is some length taken along the geometry. And here the variables u and v are the displacements associated because of the loads, shear loads of Sx and Sy. Apart from the u and v, that is the displacement u and v, we have also another displacement called as the rotational displacement theta, that is theta. Okay, and when you clearly look into this figure, let us look into the displacement at a point marked at this point. Now, when you draw a tangent at this point, and the velocity, the displacement associated with this tangent point is Vt. Let us say it is Vt. And this tangent is making an angle of phi with respect to the x-axis, that is phi. When you draw a perpendicular from point O to this tangent line, the distance between this point O and this point is called as P. This is making an angle theta. And now Vt can be written as Vt is equal to u cos phi plus v sin phi. This is the displacement associated because of u and v at a point, let us say C. And this is called as the tangential displacement. When you incorporate a rotational motion, then what it becomes is P of theta. This is about the displacement associated with the closed section beam. And the same thing which is represented here, and Sx and Sy. Already I have explained this. Sx and Sy are the shear forces applied, and the cross section of beam remains undistorted by applied load. Okay, after application of this shear forces or shear loads of Sx and Sy, the cross section of the geometry is unchanged, that is, it remains as it is before loading. The beam cross section is completely defined by the displacement u, v and w and the rotation theta. W is a displacement along the z direction that I have not represented in the previous slide, and uv is the displacement associated along the x and y axis, and theta is a rotational displacement. And the cross section, the entire cross sectional displacement can be defined with respect to u, v, w and z, that is the four variables. And the shear flow, that is the shear flow associated with the shear forces Sx and Sy, is given by Q is equal to Gt, where G is the shear modulus, T is the thickness of a closed section beam or open section beam, and P d theta by dz and du by dz cos phi plus dv by dz sin phi, dou w by dou z. Okay. This dou w by dou z is the warping, called as the warping term. I request to remember this formula, and this formula we are going to use it in our calculations. And finally, at a built-in conditions, the condition is that dou w by dou s is equal to 0. Literally what it means is that the displacement associated along the w direction is 0. That is, there is no longitudinal displacement. This is the figure which you can understand. S is some arbitrary distance taken at some arbitrary point. That means the beam can be drawn along this direction like this, and this is the z axis. Let us put it along the length. This is the z axis, and dou w by dou z. Okay, that is the deflection along this point with respect to S is 0 at the built-in edge condition. Okay, now our formula reduces to Q equal to GT P d theta by dz plus du by dz cos phi and dv by dz sin phi. And here what you need to know is that these terms are du by d theta by dz, du by dz and dv by dz. These are the unknowns which we need to determine for a given cross section. And moreover, this p and phi, these are the variables which depends upon the geometry. Okay, and now let us look into the resultant of the internal shear flow Q must be statistically equivalent to the applied load D. Since we are dealing with a static problems, that is the internal forces should balance the externally applied forces. Then this is the formula which we are going to apply, that is integral along the closed path Q cos phi ds is equal to the shear force along the x axis, that is Sx, and similarly integral Q sin phi ds equal to Sy, that is the forces along the y direction. And next, coming to the moments, integral Q p ds is equal to Sy zeta naught minus Sx neta naught. This can be explained through this diagram, that is along a closed path, that is P. Here it is, Q cos phi. Q cos phi ds. This is the shear force equivalent to the Sx. Let us look how it is. For example, tau is the shear stress per unit area, and the relation between the tau and Q is given as Q equal to tau T. This is the relation between a shear flow and the shear stress and the thickness. Now, the total magnitude of the force can be written as, we are integrating along the length, that is we are summing up all the Q's which are existing within this element Q, and moreover we are dealing along the x-axis. For example, when you look into this Q at this point, let us say this is fine, better. Let us take a small element and it has a shear flow of Q. For a time being, this Q is constant, and moreover this Q can be decomposed into the, say, Qx, that is the shear flow can be written as Q cos phi, and this can be written as Qy is equal to this angle is phi, Q sin phi. Now, into thickness gives the force along this, force existing within this small element. And when you are integrating and when you are summing up all these things, this should be equal to the forces which is existing along the x-axis, that is equal to Sx. Similarly, when you look into the Sy, now Sy can be written as Q sin phi, this is sin phi, and ds is the forces is equal to the shear loads along the y-axis. Similarly, we can get the moment by P Q ds. Here one thing you need to remember, that Q ds is equivalent to the forces, and when you take a perpendicular distance, the force into perpendicular distance is the moment which is created along the point. Finally, the force along the x-axis, the shear flow along the x-axis and y-axis, and the moment is given as follows. And we are using these formulas in our calculations. Okay, Now let us look into the numerical problems associated with the closed section beam. Here what it is saying is that calculate the shear stress distribution, that is tau, at a built-in end of a beam shown in the figure. This is the figure which which is represented. It carries a shear load of 22,000 newtons. When you look into this figure, this is the shear load of 22,000 newtons. And moreover, when you are looking into this, what you are getting is that this is the shear load of Sy, and ultimately Sx equal to 0. Okay, acting at a distance of 100 mm. This is the 100 mm from the point 1. And now, and parallel to the side 1, 2, the modulus of rigidity is G, constant throughout this section. And the length of the walls is given as follows. And 1, 2, 3, 4 and 2, 3, these are all in mm. Okay, this is a typical geometry. And here this is the thickness 1.6 mm, and this is 1.0 mm, and this is 1.0 mm, and similarly it is 1.2 mm. This is a typical geometry which corresponding to this problem. And he has given an idea about the phi system. Okay, now in order to understand this problem properly, first, already we have discussed that P, phi are geometry dependent, and what we need to know is that d theta by dz, du by dz and dv by dz. If we know these three variables, we can calculate Q and the shear stress tau. But our main aim is to find out these three variables, d theta by dz, du by dz and dv by dz. And moreover, these P and phi are geometry dependent. And let us look into the geometry and deduce what these are. Okay, for section 1 and 2, and we are taking 1 as a origin, and the P is coinciding along the Q12, and then we can say that P is 0. And moreover, when you take an axis along this is x and y axis. Here Q12 is along the direction of y. Then what I can say is phi is equal to cos 90, and cos of 90 is 0 and sine of 90 is 1. Okay, next let's look into the Q23, the same origin. And now, in order to know the perpendicular distance, here the angle is 30 degrees. Ultimately, this angle is corresponding to 60 degrees. It is a right angle triangle. What we know, this is 30 degrees. Okay, ultimately this is the hypotenuse, and we need to know the base. By using cos 30, let us say that this length is x divided by, and the length 1, 2 is given here 375 into the 375. Ultimately, we get the length, this x has 324.76 approximately. And let us calculate the angle associated with Q23. Just you draw a perpendicular line, and this is ultimately 180 degrees, 180 degrees, and this is 30 degrees. 180 plus 30, it is simply 210 degrees. This is phi is 210 degrees, and cos phi is minus 0. And this is sin phi is minus 0.5. And let us look into Q34. And now the length of Q34 is given as, and this is I think this is 500. Let me confirm it. And this is 375. Okay, one is 125, 500, 375, and this length becomes 125, and 125 minus 375, sorry, 375, 125, it gets 250. Now we have a triangle like this. This is of hypotenuse of 500, and this is height of 250 mm. And ultimately, by using Pythagoras theorem, and we know this angle 30 degrees, we can calculate the perpendicular distance. This is this length 41 equal to 433.0 something. And when you look into the angle of shear flow Q, this is going vertically down. Okay, and here 433 is the perpendicular distance measured from the origin to the Q34, and phi is 270 degrees, because since it is moving down, this is 90 plus 90 plus 90, it is 270, and cos 270 is 0, and sin 270 is minus 1. And finally, what we need to determine is that P and phi for the Q41. Since the origin is passing through Q41, then the perpendicular distance from the Q41 is 0. And since when we look into the direction of Q14, it is 0 degrees. Cos 0 is 1 and sin 0 is 0. This is the table which we know the P and phi. Let us use this table. Okay, what we know is that Q is equal to GT, P d theta by dz plus du by dz cos phi plus dv by dz sin phi. For each and every section, we have determined this cos phi, sin phi and P. And this is the formula what we are using this. And let us look into this. The shear flow which is associated with Q12 is G. This is G remains constant throughout this section. T. Thickness, here the thickness is given as 1.6 mm into G. And P is 0. Ultimately, this is 0. And cos phi is 0. Sin phi is 90 degrees. That is, we have only the term dv by dz. And what I am doing is, let us say v dash is equal to dv by dz. And u dash is equal to du by dz. And theta dash is equal to d theta by dz. And similarly, let us look into the cross Q23, that is Q23. Already we have determined the perpendicular distance, that is 324.76, that is 324.76 into cos phi is minus 0.86 and sin phi is minus 0.5. Okay, directly I am substituting these values in this above formula, and I got this as Q23 is equal to the thickness is 1.0 G into so and so. And now let us look into this Q34 and the perpendicular distance. The Q34, what I get is 433, that is P is 433, and angle is 270, and cos phi is 0 and sin phi is minus 1. And then I got this, and the thickness is 1.2 mm from the geometry. And finally for Q41, and from Q41 P is 0 and this terms is 0, and cos phi is 1 and this sin phi is 0. Finally what I get is Q41 is equal to the thickness is 1.0 G into u dash. This is the shear flow associated with the individual element. And now let us use the formula which we have discussed that. These are the three formulas. Now we need to have a force balance along the x-axis, y-axis and also the moment. Okay, now let us look into the vertical equilibrium of an element. And when you look into this geometry, this Q12 is in vertical direction. And now let us look into Q23. When you look into the Q23, Let us take this. This is a x-axis towards down and y-axis towards negative. And what it is? Q23. And let us take this angle as theta. Along the downward direction, it is Q23 cos theta. Here the theta corresponding to this angle. This is ultimately 60 degrees, cos 60 degrees. And along the negative y direction, it is Q23 sin 60 degrees. And let us look into Q34. This is towards down, and this element is not contributing towards the vertical equilibrium. Okay, now finally what we get is Q23 into length of the element is the force which is existing within this element. The total element length is 374. Q12 into 374. This is the magnitude of the force which is existing within an element of Q12. And similarly, Q23, the total length is 500 mm into cos 60. What we get is that already towards down, since it is towards down, what I get is Q23 cos 60 into length is 500 mm. And Q34, it is directly towards down, it is Q34 into 125. This is equivalent to the vertical shear, that is of magnitude 2 to 22,000 newtons. Okay, after simplification, this is what we get. And on further simplification, we get this 3Q12 minus 2Q23 minus Q34 is equal to 174. But when you remember this Q12, Q23 and Q34, this already we have defined here. Directly I am substituting these values at this point, and what I get is this formula. And here you need to know that theta dash, u dash and v dash. This is all algebraic simplification. You can do it. And now the ultimate thing is that after vertical equilibrium, we need to look into the horizontal equilibrium. That is, we need to balance the horizontal forces. Okay, for horizontal forces, what we have is that Q41 is into 433. This 433 is the element which is contributing this. The distance between the point 4 and 1 is 433 into Q41. And now when you look into the horizontal equilibrium, this Q12 and Q34 doesn't contribute any horizontal forces, and the horizontal contribution is from Q23. This is Q23. This is Q23 cos 60 degrees into length 500, and this is Q41 into length, this is 433. Finally what I get is, for horizontal equilibrium, Q41 is equal to 433 minus Q21 into 500 sin 60. After simplification, what I get is Q41 is equal to Q21. When we substitute these formulas of Q41 and Q21, that already we have noted here, then what we get is U dash is equal to 1.6 times of V dash. Finally, moment balance. And what we know is that, let us look into the moment balance. Since we are Q41 and Q21 is passing through the origin, and the moments along these points is 0. And now let us look about the moment along the because of 22,000 newtons. That is, the perpendicular distance is 100 mm. 22,000 into 100 mm. And this moment should be balanced by the internal moments. And when you look into this, Okay. Force into the perpendicular distance. This is 500 into 375 into Q23 into cos 30. This is the contribution, that is a contribution of movement, and plus 125. This is 125. This is total length into perpendicular distance is 433. 433 into Q34. This is the 433 is the length. This is a perpendicular length from point 1, that is origin, and 125 is the length of the element Q34, and the Q34 is the shear force. Finally, after algebraic simplification, what we get is the following formula, that is Q3 Q23 plus Q34 is equal to 40.6. And when we substitute the values of Q23 and Q34, and after algebraic simplification, we get this following formula. Remember, let us say 1, 2, 3. When we solve all these three equations, that is, we get theta dash is equal to 0.122 by g, and u dash is equal to 9.1, and v dash is equal to so and so. Here we know the values of theta dash, u dash, and v dash. These are system of equations of three unknowns, and we have determined theta dash, u dash, and v dash. And ultimately, what we know is q is equal to gt. This is p into theta dash plus cos phi u dash plus sin phi v dash, and Q12, and from the geometry what we know is that g is constant, and t is, for Q12 it is 1.6, and p is 0, that is theta dash. When you look into this formula, when you substitute this all this theta dash, u dash into these formulas, what you get is Q12, Q23, Q34, and Q41. And the relation between tau and q is tau is equal to q by t. When we multiply this shear force with this thickness, we get the shear stress within an element. And already we got this. Q12 and Q23 and Q34 as follows. When you divide it with thickness, you get this tau 12, tau 23. That is the shear stress which is existing within an element. And thank you very much. I am signing off. This is Varun Gorganti.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.